Chapter 11. Do you believe in fairy tales? I once believed so much that although there are too many unhappy things in this world, there is still a beautiful fairy tale kingdom. I am princess of the country. The rose is my crown and garment. My nights are cherry blossoms. But fairy tales are like roses, love is like roses, even beliefs are like roses. So beautiful yet so short, even if well watered and cared for, it will soon wither. After the age of 6 I stopped believing in fairy tales. In desperation, I suddenly felt a burst of restlessness. Someone was shouting and drinking at the entrance of the alley, then the footsteps were messy, and the suppression on my body suddenly disappeared. I immediately opened my eyes, rolled over and sat up, not believing my luck. It's not that I didn't think, or see a familiar windbreaker. However, I only saw the flashing police lights at the entrance of the alley. It turned out to be just a patrolling policeman. They happened to pass by and saw suspicious behavior in the alley. When he approached and asked, the two hooligans immediately hugged their heads and ran away. Only one policeman chased him out. I also wanted to leave, but found that my coat had been taken by another person, probably for the wallet, and suddenly I remembered the cufflinks in my pocket, so I pulled my leg and chased it. Mew was the one who took my coat. He was a bit aggressive, and I didn't care much, I just wanted to get back the cufflinks. There was a corner ahead, Mew ran over, and I quickened my pace. Just as I rushed around the corner, a cold light flashed, I tilted my head, and a dagger rubbed my neck and flew past and landed on the ground behind me. Asshole. I was furious. Seeing that the situation was not good, Mew dropped my coat and ran into the street garden. I picked up my coat and searched my pockets but only found my wallet. The cufflinks were nowhere to be seen, and it was too late to chase. With a bit of luck, I went back the same way. Or the cufflinks have fallen into the alley like the phone. I prayed in my heart that God, the Bodhisattva Yama, as long as I find the cufflinks, I am willing to believe in all of you. The policeman at the entrance of the alley has already caught the thief by himself and is looking around at the people involved. Wait a minute, there is another person next to him, hunting in a windbreaker, tall and straight. Oh, it is probably the various immortals passing by, and pity me. He had no time to take into account the police's questioning, and only said that he had misunderstood the former suspect. The police were quite puzzled, and Yoshikawa was grateful. All the sound scenes faded out, and all I heard and saw was just one person. Ruth. Sue stepped forward hesitantly. The 6-year-old girl was now a teenage girl. No wonder he didn't dare to recognize each other rashly. I stared at the man in front of me. For the past 12 years, Sue is far from the knight of Yingwei in his impression. Now I can see that he no longer needs to raise his face. There are traces of vicissitudes around the corners of his eyes, and even the temples are no longer black and there are strands of silver. However, what does it matter, he still looks so handsome, and the passage of time only adds a little more calm temperament to him. I slowly stepped forward, put my arms around Sue's neck, and buried my face deeply into his neck like I did when I was 6 years old. It turned out that my mother was on the phone with Sue at noon. Sue came back from France and heard that I had run away from home on a lunch date. Throughout the afternoon and evening, Sue went from Ginza to Shinjuku, Aoyama, Shibuya, and Harajuku, looking for video game places in Tokyo. Later, he contacted all my classmates to find Asakusa, only to find out where I was, and he made countless calls during the period, but I didn't answer. Sue was already near the bar when he made the last call in the early morning, vaguely heard the ringtone and found only the phone on the ground. He waited in the same place anxiety, and Sue almost broke the bridge of Yoshikawa's nose when he saw the police escorting Yoshikawa. Standing in front of Sue, I felt his eyes fell on me so tenderly, and suddenly I forgave him for the 12 years of alienation and indifference. My coat had been torn open. Sue took off his windbreaker and draped it over my shoulders, and suddenly reached out to touch my neck with a low voice. When I touched it with my hand, there was a tingling pain in the place where the left side of my face and neck meet, and there was warm and red viscous liquid on my hand. It turned out that the dagger that Mew threw just now still hadn't completely escaped. I immediately thought of the two missing cufflinks, and before I could explain it, I turned around and wanted to enter the alley. Ruth. Sue grabbed me. You lost something, right? Is this or this? My left hand is my mobile phone. The right hand was slowly spread out, and two sapphire cufflinks were lying in the palm, glittering in the morning light. I grabbed it tightly and never let go. Does it hurt? Well, it's better not to leave scars. Shall we go to the hospital? Sue looked at the wound around my neck worriedly, and took out a handkerchief, unfolded it and folded it into a strip to bandage me. Scar. Disrupted. I just don't care. I shook my head. Unknown to Sue, I was even willing to give my soul to the devil just now in exchange for these two cufflinks. The spring breeze in March passed, and I saw the petals of cherry blossoms flying. For no reason, I remembered that when I saw Sue for the first time, my mother asked in a low voice, "Young Shen, where did all the time go, and why did we meet like this? Let's go see the cherry blossoms, shall we?" I finally spoke. Without dissuasion, without hesitation, Sue just nodded and hugged me. Still as warm. We came to Wano Park. This place can be regarded as the cultural center of Tokyo. There are sakura trees, and the Cherry Blossom Festival in April every year is full of flowers and tourists. Only in March, when the cherry blossoms are at their peak, the early cherry blossoms are also very beautiful. In the early morning, there are very few people. Sue and I walked all the way along the statue of Takashi Seigo, the art exhibition hall, the cultural hall, the Lunwang Palace, the museum, the tomb of General Tokugawa to the Kanayong Temple. And finally we went back to the National Science Museum from the Horyu Temple and the Byoking Hall. Standing in front of the white colonnade of the museum, looking at the cherry blossom forest, some sunlight cast by the branches, it's like a dream. I looked back at Sue. He suddenly rubbed my head fondly. "Princess Ruth, let's go back." What a familiar scene. I nodded obediently. End of chapter 11.